Friends, today we are going to discuss about federated learning. It's a very important concept in the world of artificial intelligence, and it's my honor to discuss this with Mr. William. William, can you introduce yourself for our audience?
Thank you very much. So yes, my name is William. I work as an engineer at Flower Labs. We host the Flower framework, which is a very popular framework for federated learning and federated AI. Yeah, that's what I do.
Thanks, William. So first, let's get started from the basics. If you can just explain what is federated learning and how it is different from the edge computing. If you can tell, that will be, great.
Yes, sure. So we can maybe take a step back first. So if you think about AI is that you want to find pattern in a data using a specific model. Let's take medical or healthcare as an example, which is when you, for example, want to detect cancer in images or something like that in medical records. And on in normal AI, what you would do is that you would send all of the data that you gather from the hospitals to a central server where you train the AI to detect these sort of patterns. Is it cancer? Is it not, let's say? And then it would make a decision. However, this is not always practical to do so. And what edge computing is that you would do all of the AI training and all of running the predictions, classifications, what we usually refer to as inference on the edge, on the hospitals themselves, or maybe even go down to lower levels. So if you have, let's say, a smartwatch or something like that, the AI would run only there and never communicate with anything else. So that would be the very tail end of the edge computing. But then you have something in between, which we work with, which is federated AI. So you can think of it as, let's take a federation of hospitals. So you have a group of hospitals, maybe 10, and they all have a bit of data, but they want to find a way to collaborate together because if they do so, they can use knowledge from more data to get an even better AI than what they would have gotten before. Because as I said before, sending data, images, videos across the world, that's not always practical. So what federated AI does is that you start here, you send out a model, an AI model to all of the hospitals that, and these copies of the models, they train on the data that is on each one of these hospitals. So they learn from this new data, they get a bit better, but then they send the updates from themselves back to this point, not the raw data itself. So no images or videos or whatever never leave the edge, but the knowledge is shared. And when it's shared, we can aggregate it and get an even better model. So the core principle is that we do not share data. We only transfer some of the model updates from the AI itself.
William, I think that nicely explained. So, if I summarize what you're saying, federated learning is helping if you don't want to share, and which is many sector, including health sector, the raw data which contain the sensitive record of the name of the person and other details. Uh, Instead of that, various hospitals have collaborated, and the learnings, if I say, those have been shared at a common place, or a collaborative learning has come up. So yeah, I think that is a good way to understand for all of us. Anything like that have you done, or your team has done for the in the BFSI segment, also in the banking domain? And if you can give example
Yes.
of that, yeah, that will be helpful.
Yes. So I mean, I took the medical example because it's quite intuitive, but you have all we work with all different sort of industries, whether it's automotive, finance, insurance, general technologies, and so on. What I can say, for example, let's take a use case to be specific. You have um, maybe credit risk scoring, which is quite common, or anti-money laundering, which is something that is a collaborative effort in the finance domain because you might have transactions that go from a bank to another bank or an institution to another institution, and there is a need to collaborate to see what is actually going on. But there are regulations in place, and we are talking about global systems here. So sharing this data between entities, very unlikely and very difficult, even within an organization that might have units and entities spread across the world. So think about whatever big bank they might operate in Europe or in India or in the US or something like that. But it's still very difficult to share raw data and transactions from customers, let's say. So I mean, this can be applied to this, and I think we have some open cases on our website that you can go and check out for even more information. But as I was saying before, the tasks such as anti-money laundering, credit fraud, or fraud detection in general, these are some of the most common use cases where you would apply this to.
So, yeah, gone through your website, Flower.AI, and I was reading there one use case. I believe your team has done where for a bank, it is like one entity is there in Europe and another is in US, and the learning from the US is shared to the Europe entity and vice versa. Is that understanding correct? Something like that has been for the cross borders, or should I say cross continent also has been done by your team.
Yeah, so that's one of the open examples that I can talk about. This was from a banking circle that operate both in the Europe and in the US, and they had a case where they needed to train on data from the US, but they were mainly operating in Europe. So, okay, how do we combine this? And then they looked to Flower because, first of all, it's very easy to set up. We do provide them the machine learning models that are very efficient for financial data. And in finance, I mean, you can do large language models, you can train large language models and computer vision and so on and so forth. But a lot of the data is kept in tabular format. So what you would see in a normal spreadsheet or something like that, numerical, maybe even categorical. You can think of it like that. But some of these models are not always what we refer to as neural nets. Even though neural networks are really good at what they are doing, you might want to use something like an XGBoost, which is a tree-based model that makes a decision based on how the model is building itself. But I mean, people can read more about this, but those are also very interesting models, and we do support them within the framework, and it's really successful in these cases as well.
Someday we have to keep an eye on the training cost or training time, anything like that. Have you experienced where we have to see? I understand that full data will not be transferred, which is good. Only result will be transferred. But if I have to train the models, whether the training time increases, and is it a significant way, or it is like okay, because if you do the analysis of benefit versus challenges, it's okay. So what has been your experience?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I think what many people forget is that when you if it, it's very easy to compare apples to oranges here. How do you actually compare computation time, communication cost, and all of these sort of things? Um, for example, if you were to deploy Flower in some sort of federation, you can do that and you would not need to move the data to a central point. And that is actually not non-significant. That effort of moving all the data from a geophysical place to another one, that first of all could be need to go through like audits and etc. because it's, are we sharing something sensitive here and things. So you need to take the whole life cycle into perspective. Then, of course, there are some real world constraints, such as connectivity and things like that. But if we're talking about bigger institutions that have access to a good network, then the computation time, what we have seen is that there is, first of all, no, there does not have to be a decrease in performance on general AI performance. That's a myth right now. We have papers that say otherwise, but also computation time and um, computational effort, all of these sort of things are still kept at a very minimum and on par with what traditional machine learning is offering. But here in this case, we also utilizing the benefit of, first of all, access to, I'm not going to say access to data, but access to knowledge of data because we're not sharing the data. But then also it's privacy preserving, which is a big point here as well.
Spread the myth, if I say, of time going up, because my experience also has been that even if two organization or two departments within the organization has agreed, there is almost a paperwork involved, there is always an audit involved, there is always a role, who will be there, who will not be there. Of course, that does not get counted in the training cost, but actually that's a time you are spending and the effort you are spending. I think all those, if we compare versus here, the training, I think it will come out to the same or maybe more, because there are more hassles in signing paper, getting the agreement and all those things. So yeah, that's helpful. If you can now talk about the Flower AI and whatever you can share, like to our audience, when it is started, what all it offers, how many customers it has, where all you are working, that will be very helpful for our audience to know.
Yes, definitely. So, I mean, we are still a small company. We are operating in all parts of the world, and I would say we are a couple of years old right now. Started around 2019, 2020, something like that, as a project. But now we are a full-blown company working. We have a great engineering team working on the framework, and the framework itself. So Flower is the framework that allows you to do federated learning, federated AI, and all of these sort of things. And it is open source, which means that you can download it for free. You can train your AI models with it and use it. So that is great. It's out there on GitHub for anyone to see, and we have thousands of GitHub stars. I think almost closing in on 6,000 GitHub stars. The community is very broad. It's both academia and industry right now. So it's a bit of both. I mean, we have a large Slack channel that anyone can join and just chat with us. I think that's actually the easiest way to get in touch with us. But we do publish our own research. And we also have a Flower AI Summit coming up in 2 weeks. So we are recording this as of March 12th, but on March 26th and 27th, we have the what we would say is the largest federated AI conference in the world at this point. So anyone can join. It's online and on site in London. It's free of charge for registration. So if people are interested in this, then I would really urge people to join and talk with us, chat with us. But yeah, it's an ongoing project trying to make this framework even better. And yesterday we actually launched Flower Intelligence, which is an even new sort of software or a tool that will help you deploy your application on the edge. But if you have, let's say, if it's low-end devices that we are talking about and you need to offload some computing at times, you can do that securely using our new tool, Flower. Let me just pull up the exact name, but with the Flower Confidential Remote Compute. So yeah, that's really exciting, and I think it will make federated AI even more mainstream because it's so easy to actually scale from experimentation to deployment.
William. William, you have something like Flame also. Is that thing correct? And if you can shed some light on Flames also, that will be helpful.
Do you mean this finance tool? So that was actually a project from, I think, an academic group and banking circle itself. But it is, I mean, we have as I was saying before, around 6,000 GitHub stars and growing every day. The same size of the Slack community. And if I'm not mistaken, 1,500 or 1,600 open source projects depend on our framework. So anyone can find them. They're out there on GitHub. But also there are more projects that are run in private mode that might be our customers or other partners or things like that. But yeah, so we're talking thousands here, thousands of projects using the framework.
Okay. Uh, Before I forget now, you told for our audience very exciting thing that the conference, and I'm sure many of us will be interested, especially if it is available online. So, if somebody from this side of the world want to attend, what exactly where they will get the details of this conference? Is it there on the Flower AI website, something like that? They have to go and see, or
Yeah, so yes, so just type in flower, FLOWER.AI. Then you'll get to our main website and you will find the information about our Flower AI Summit 2025. And as I said, it's free of charge for registration. You can tune in from wherever in the world. We'll have a bunch of speakers, a live stream, and some events going on throughout. So you can talk with us, chat with us, and I mean I will probably be talking there as well. So we are looking forward to connecting with the community and also try to realize some of the projects that people want to start and how they can get started because there's so much documentation out there, both on our website, but also more practical stuff on the GitHub. So you can just get started and it's I mean that's actually just to tell a bit of a short story. That's why I got started because I was doing research and I was looking around for different sort of frameworks for federated learning, and this was around 2021, so 3 4 years ago, and I just immediately got hooked on Flower because it was so intuitive to set up a federation. It was like if you ever worked with some code, you would do pip pip install Flower basically, and then you create your federation, which now can be done easily by you call Flower new, and then you set it up. It takes 10 seconds. And then you can do Flower run, which starts it. So we're talking like 3 commands here, and that's unprecedented in any other sort of framework for this.
answered some of my question, but still I will go ahead. So couple of things which I have got from audience. One was, do you have any sandbox where if somebody has to try at least something they can see? Second was on the implementation. If really, let's say here also certain organization have agreed to join hand and use this, what does it mean? It means how much is there an implementation time, or it's all depend on the data? And if there is anything cost or any other prerequisite they have to cover up. So I'll summarize any sandbox which Flower provides, or if you know any people can try their hands on. The second is something on the implementation and execution, and starting any prerequisite if you have to try and use federated learning. So if you can shed light on that.
Yeah, great questions. I hope I can answer them both quite nicely. But um, to start with the first one, the sandbox. So what when people are developing, it's really nice to see, okay, how do I actually get started with a tool as quickly as possible? Just to play around and see what works and what doesn't. And this is what Flower does, in my opinion, the best, because you can, as I said, you would install it, you would call something like Flower new, and then you do Flower run. So these are three commands, including the installment, and then you can just test the experimentation, like, or test a simulation. So what we usually differentiate a federation based on or like one thing. So simulation engine, which is what I think we're talking about here, the sandbox, like experimentation, just kind of getting to understand it. And then you go from there to deployment. And this is where you deploy it on your network, make it work in real world and so on. But this is really easy to do. I'm also happy to show how easy it is actually in my IDE or my code environment here. But we can get to that soon. Then regarding the projects and what people can do when they work with us, so Flower is built to be modular, which means that you can kind of plug and play with whatever type of maybe security mechanism that you want installed, such as authentication methods, maybe differential privacy or other concepts like that. But then you can also implement your custom strategy. So if we recall what I talked before about when you do the aggregation of the model updates in the server after having trained on, let's say, the hospital sites, you might want to do different sort of aggregation. So the basic one is saying federated averaging, which is that you draw an average of all the updates. So this is basic. But then you might have a need for personalization or something like that. Flower supports that as well, and you can also implement your own version of it. So yeah, with that said, I mean, it's modular, it's flexible, you can do whatever you want with it, and yeah.
I think that that gives a good description of, and what I can make it out. It's quite rich because first you explained it's sort of some three command, and within the second we can get started, and then it's modular, and your website also, if an OWER. I have visited that website. I will say it contains good knowledge repository, links to the videos. So I'll urge audience to explore that. There was a link to the YouTube also was there, and very useful videos. So William, I think according to me, we should go one more deep dive session, but that maybe we should do one more later. Now, before closing today, any final message from your side to the audience? Because yeah, I'm sold on Flower AI, but yeah, it's still for the audience, like if you want to tell anything.
Other than that, I mean, we are an open source framework. Anyone can use what we build. And I mean, why we're having this call is just to connect with the community and see what people want to build and try to get them to use Flower, and which will help us. That will give us feedback on, what should we actually be working on, what are features that, are worth considering, and so on. So feel free to check out anything on our website. That's Flower.AI. We are active on social medias like LinkedIn and X, but the easiest way to get in touch with us is through our Slack. So feel free to join there and chat with us, all of us that work here. And lastly, don't forget about the Flower AI Summit, which is coming up now in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Thanks, William, for spending the time with us. And I think we got to know about the summit, which is upcoming, which frankly I have also not noticed, but now I will go and register myself. And I'll request all of our team, our audience, to whoever is working on that. I know there are a lot many other questions were there. So first, let's try attend the summit, and we will get hold of William again for more deep diving into that. So here it is. I hope everybody enjoyed the session. Thanks, William, for your time. And yeah, good luck for your upcoming scenario. Thank you.